Welcome to the College Panel for Have to Connect, held by Connecting Communities to Technology. Thank you all for being here. So we'll get started. So first, this is Kirvani Budhiraju, a recent graduate from Thomas Jefferson High School for Science and Technology. She's pursuing a neuroscience major in Temple University, located in Philadelphia. She's been passionate about STEM from a young age and has decided to become a doctor. She has also been involved in activities such as volunteering at numerous hospitals and being a part of the Medical Reserve Corps of Loudoun County in order to take her ambition outside of school. So, Kirvani, do you want to go ahead and just talk about your STEM journey?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Just wanted to introduce myself once more. I am Kirvani. Can you all hear me? Can you confirm that they can hear me?
Yeah, they can hear you.
Okay, perfect. Okay. So my STEM journey, I think it was probably when I was 6 years old, and I just randomly woke up one day and said I wanted to become a doctor. And at this time in my life, I was living in India. So when we had moved to US like 3 years later, I knew like I wanted to pursue my education in US just because I knew the education would help me a lot further than if I had stayed in India. But my idea of going into doctor was more of just like a dream when I was 6 years old. But I think since then I had like looked for things that involved doctors or watching shows or even like reading books that involve doctors just to get an idea of what my life would be like if I was to pursue this career. And I think I was fortunate enough to get into TJ, which was really like where I got more involved in STEM. And I'd always been passionate about like science and math, but I think TJ really showed me like what I'm good at in STEM and what I'm not good at and what I know for sure I can't pursue. And I believe anyone can get a passion for STEM through anything. Like it could be the smallest incident in your life or like the biggest, most traumatic incident in your life that could spike your interest in STEM. And it mainly goes from there onto how you put your efforts to pursue such things. So TJ was really enlightening for me, and I had done a lot of things in TJ that helped me pursue STEM. At the same time, it showed me that I am not just a STEM person. Like I am good at both STEM and I also have an interest in something other than STEM. For example, I had done Model UN almost my entire year, all 4 years of TJ. And I think that also showed me that while STEM is something I am like ambitious about, I think I would definitely be involved in something other than STEM like throughout my entire life. So I think Model UN definitely pushed me to look at careers such as careers involved in like Doctors Without Borders or anything like with foreign relations. But I was always connecting it back to doctors, which definitely pushed me to take my neuroscience major in Temple University. I will be like looking at other majors, obviously, because I'm interested in like public relations and stuff, but I think I'll definitely be pursuing neuroscience and then going into medical school, hopefully, after my 4 years at Temple University. And as far as my journey, I think it, again, significantly skyrocketed after I got to TJ. And I think that would happen to anyone who gets to high school because that's really where you get to core like subjects such as biology, chemistry, physics, which is like the backbone of the science part of STEM, and as well as technology stuff. You can go into like CS, and obviously we have engineering, which is like the physics part of it as well. I think a lot of high schools now have been expanding their horizons and going into like different classes, especially for technology, because we do know like we're living in a world where technology is advancing far faster than we are. So obviously STEM is something that you need to be passionate about before you try to think, okay, if I'm going to earn more in STEM, so I should pursue STEM, because I know like that is the mentality that a lot of people end up having once you get to college, just because it gives you the money that you need to pay off student loans or put a roof over you and give you the food that you need. But at the same time, at the end of the day, if you're not passionate about what you're going to be working on, then you're definitely not going to love the life you're living. So I know it, like, as a 17-year-old, I sound like I am talking about like big things, but once you get to senior year of your high school or you get to like college, you'll realize the world is so much more than your high school community. And you'll realize that there's so many things you could be doing, even if it's outside of STEM or even inside of STEM. And it matters that you put your heart and your like efforts to pursue those things that interest you and not try to do it because your friends are doing it or try to do it because maybe someone forced you to, but do it because you love to do it. And I know like that's not something that you have a lot of choice in high school, but I assure you once you get to college, you will have a lot of choices and it only depends on how you want to pursue STEM or anything else that you want. And I really don't think like, there's a curve, like there's like a path for STEM that you need to pursue. You could do anything and still end up in STEM, honestly. Like you could do the most craziest major and still go to med school because honestly, med school people value any major at this point. And you could do the same thing and go into law or anything like that. So I'm just saying like neuroscience major on my part was because I actually enjoyed the neuroscience class offered at TJ my junior year. And I did mentorship at Georgetown University under a neuroscience mentor, which is the only reason I wanted to pursue neuroscience major because I was interested in that field. But I would say any other major would just get you the same kind of level boost or anything like that to go to med school or any other like STEM careers that you want to pursue. I think that's really it. That's all I had to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Kirvani. So I know we're supposed to have our Q&A session at the end, but I also know that you have to leave early. And we already have a few questions, so would you mind answering them before leaving?
Yeah, no problem. Go ahead.
Thank you. Okay, so what is your favorite part of your major and your least favorite part?
Okay, I think the favorite part of my major is like finding out exactly how our brain works. Like I've always been fascinated about like how we do things and how these things come about. And there's so many things that go unanswered just because like no one knows about it or like people who know about it don't want to talk about it. So I really wanted to like find out really how our brain works, even like the smallest things that we do, how that does that come to play. I think the thing I hate most about it though is the fact that there's no practical way to learn. Like there's no hands-on stuff to do in neuroscience because again, they're not going to hand you a brain and be like, this is where this is, this is how this works. So I think that's what I hate the most. So I'll probably learn more from like textbooks and lectures than I would be doing in person, which kind of not my favorite way of learning, but at the same time, as long as it gets me where I want, I think I would, if I end up learning what I want to learn, then I think that's fine with me. So that's kind of the best and worst of neuroscience major. Any other questions?
That's really cool. What do you think defines being passionate about STEM?
I think if you just, I know like a lot of people hate imagining themselves like 20 years down the line. Like I know I hate it when everyone's like, just imagine what you'll be doing 10 years down the line. But really sit down one day and be like, okay, 10 years down the line, if I'm sitting at a desk and doing a 9-to-5 job, do you think you'll like it? And if you really think you don't, then think about what else you would like to do for like 24/7. Like if they call you at the middle of the night and they're like, you need to do this work so we can get it done, what would you not hate doing? And that's when you kind of can trigger it down to what you want to do. And it doesn't have to be STEM. Like, I understand, like, this is mainly about STEM, but at the same time, what you're passionate about and, like, defining what you're passionate about, I think it comes from, like, what you truly believe you can do and you want to do for the rest of your life, keep in mind. So it's not about if it's STEM or not, but it's more about what you want to do. From the bottom of your heart, you should be able to say one day that you're satisfied with your job and your career. And I think that's what being passionate about something is.
Yeah, so I think you answered the next question, which is if you want to be a doctor, there's a lot of college you have to go through. So how do you determine whether that's really what you want to do? Because once you start, it's really hard to turn back. So. Okay,
so I can just answer it a little bit better by saying that like every time I tell someone that I want to be a doctor, the first question I get is like, oh my God, you have to go to school for like 10 more years. And like, honey, I know I do. Like, I'm the first one who knows I have to go to college 10 more years. But at the same time, when I think of what's going to come out of it at the end of that, I think that like motivates me so much more than what anyone else tells me that I'm going to be doing. So I think that's one reason why like I'm still stuck in that career.
That's really cool and inspiring. Thank you, Kirvani.
And no problem. Have a good day. I'm going to head out. I'm so sorry, but
No problem.
have fun, you know.
Yes, thank you for coming to speak.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, so next is, I can click it. Okay, yeah. The next is Alexis. So Alexis is a graduate of Thomas Jefferson High School for Science and Technology, and she's a rising first year at the University of Virginia, looking to double major in business and computer science. Her STEM journey began in elementary school when she was first introduced to chemistry experiments and the programming languages Scratch. From there, computer science has grown to be her passion, studying C++, Python, web development, and so much more throughout high school and through programs at Princeton and Carnegie Mellon. Alexis has also conducted research in biochemistry and worked on personal projects such as freelance web development and building machine learning applications. Outside of academics, she has work experience in data analytics and software development and volunteers at the Children's Science Center. At the moment, she's working as a software engineering intern at Empower, a ride-sharing company, and hopes to create her own tech startup in the future. Yeah. Alexis, do you want to go ahead and talk a bit about that?
Sure. Yeah, sure. So anyone, just let me know if you can't hear me. But I did write a little bit something because I can't really speak on the spot there. So you see me looking, that's why. So anyways, yep, my name is Alexis. And before I begin, I just would like to congratulate all of you guys as part of the hackathon and for doing something amazing during this really tumultuous time in the world. So thank you all. And I'm so glad we have intelligent, innovative future leaders. So for my STEM journey, again, like being said, it began in elementary school, and that's really when I figured out that I was pretty good at the science and math stuff. And like every other kid in the gifted and talented program, I love to learn about almost anything. And when my school computer teacher introduced us to Scratch, a children's programming language where you just drag and drop little statements, I knew I found my new obsession. And so from there and on to middle school, I really committed myself to a variety of clubs and organizations. So I committed myself to the robotics team, learning how to program little games on my family's desktop computer, and even getting involved in my own science experience with baking soda or really any chemical I could find in my house. And so I also put myself in the most advanced STEM classes I really could in my middle school and elementary school before entering TJ. So before even stepping foot into TJ, I knew it was for me. I loved computer science and had really no option or other plan to pursue anything else. And that summer, I was lucky to be part of the C++ programming summer camp at Princeton, where I was able to do deep dive into a language I wasn't really familiar with, which was amazing learning experience. And so in every year in high school, I tried to take advanced computer science classes like artificial intelligence, and computer vision, and web development. And I was even lucky to be part of hackathons like this one. And my all-girls team won the best web app during our freshman year, which is also a very first hackathon. That was awesome. And in addition to all that, I also conducted research on how antidepressants affect modern nervous systems and volunteered often at the Children's Science Center, especially to promote diversity and inclusion in STEM through the Latino Side Girls program. And then last summer, I got the opportunity to intern at a data analytics startup, working with location data and visualizing it. And that same summer, inspired by my community service work at the Children's Science Center, I founded a company myself, along with other high school students, that raised awareness for education inequality in our local area. And so I was also able to attend another programming camp for machine learning at Carnegie Mellon prior to my junior year, and it allowed me to pursue personal projects like to build machine learning algorithms I really wouldn't have learned anywhere else. Now fast forward to the beginning of my senior year in high school, my last year. I used those skills as well as the technical abilities I learned from my high school plethora of computer science classes to create a senior research project of my own. So it was a social media trend aggregator, and I use APIs and, of course, web development and put them onto one application. And my senior year also marked the beginning of another startup I founded with some other high schoolers, and we created a technology magnifier, so it magnifies your screen, and we were gearing it towards the elderly, and I know a lot of us being on our screens all the time have eye surgery issues, so that was our main target market. And I think I believe that these were major factors in my college admissions process and allowed me to secure my current software development job. And so speaking of college admissions and internships and all of that, which is probably the reason why most of you are here, it was tough. It was not an easy process to go through, filling out forms, essays, crafting the perfect application. And going into my senior year, I knew I wanted to do computer science in some way. But I also love the business side of it and working with the startups and whatnot. So marrying both aspects were super important when I was picking out the college I wanted or writing up my application. So going through the essays and questionnaires for college also made me confront why I liked computer science and why I didn't like something like biology. 100%. And it's funny. And the bottom line is that I like creating things, being hands-on and using those things to help others. So being able to program a simple game or website or simulation brings me a lot of satisfaction because it's also empowering because I can create something by myself with my own skills and talents. And I also hate to be bored doing mindless tasks or working at something that isn't beneficial for me or for others. So the immediate gratification of writing code and seeing the output right there, it just kept making me pursue the topic. And the cherry on top is that the intersections with computer science and business were endless. And even computer science with every other single topic you can think of in entertainment, in medicine, and humanities. Like, you can marry it with anything. So while, yes, I'm looking to get a good job out of college and, tech is where it's at, I know that I can incorporate CS into any work I do or hope to do in the future. And so I really focused in that intersection between computer science and almost anything in my essays. And that's how I was also able to secure a full scholarship to UVA and be able to pursue CS and business in college. So after the college process, though, right here we graduated and we're like, what's next? Now what? And it seems like our education system has led us to build up to college and university, but really didn't teach us what comes after. So reminded of my college process, I wanted to do something, make someone's life a little bit better or help someone build something. So I decided to go job hunting, no matter how futile it was in our chaotic world. So I cold called and emailed so many companies from Facebook, which was impossible already, and to small startups near my house. And out of luck and great timing, the ride-sharing startup I work at was looking for interns. So they didn't care that I just graduated from high school, but they saw that I had years of programming and software development under my belt, from my beginning to scratch, dragging and dropping little statements to my latest year project. And let me tell you though, coding in class is different from coding in workplace. The big change is that you have a team now. So I knew my fellow classmates were having trouble deciding what they also wanted to do after the college process. So I brought them in and had them talk to the CEO of the startup. They were ultimately hired, and for the past few months, as a team of also TJ graduates, we've been working on building actual web applications and analyzing real data. And we even get to see the company where we work at grow right before our eyes, which is amazing. And we became pretty much like software engineers at only 18 years old. And I think it's because my company saw that passion in me and my other workmates to create others and to better others. So, in my internship experience, I learned more than I could sitting in class. And I learned how to coordinate tasks, work as a team, and, develop in a business. And I think I really wanted to focus on this internship part because a part of, getting into college, of course, is extracurriculars and whatnot. So these are just examples of what you guys could do as rising juniors, seniors, high schoolers in your high school career. So I love what I do, and I hope to continue this path, at least for now, and hopefully create my own company in the future where I can help young engineers, scientists, entrepreneurs manifest their own futures in STEM. So to end, as high schoolers on the brink of a revolutionary step into adulthood and the real world. Ask yourself, why do you like STEM? Why do you like learning? Because when you figure out the why behind your interests and passions and figuring out what you want to do in college, and at least just the next year, you don't even have to look that far. But if you know the why behind it, it just becomes a little bit clearer on what path you should take. And the essays start writing themselves, college application becomes more whole. So in stressing the why, admissions officers, employers, and just other people and students will instantly be inspired by your story. So again, I'm proud of you all for being part of this wonderful hackathon, and thank you to Dia for reaching out to me and helping me be a part of this amazing opportunity. So best of luck, everybody.
Of course, thank you, Alexis, for talking. It was really inspiring, and I think we can all learn a bit. So yeah, we have quite a few questions for you, so I'm going to save them till the end when we have our Q&A session. Next is Medha. So Medha Gupta attends New York University and is studying computer science and social entrepreneurship. She's passionate about computer science and its real-world applications. Throughout high school, she has made efforts to learn about STEM and CS beyond just her classes. She's also participated in and won awards at several competitions such as Hack UVA, Hack TJ, Technovation, NCWIT, GIT, and the Congressional App Challenge. She now serves on the Congressional App Challenge Alumni Advisory Board. Medha established a 501 nonprofit organization called She-STEM, through which she volunteers at Title I community centers and elementary schools to teach them coding, and runs a social media campaign to bring awareness about women in STEM. She has worked on projects at Apple, George Mason University, and Duke University, and is currently working at Morgan Stanley. Some notable projects include analyzing effective ways to bolster female computing undergrads to continue pursuing STEM, a tamper-proof cap that attaches to existing prescription medicine bottles to reduce drug underuse and overdose, and a robust neural network to improve automatic speech recognition in autonomous vehicles. So, Medha, do you want to go ahead and share a bit about your STEM journey?
Yeah, sure. And it's really hard to follow both Alexis and Kirvani because both of them I'm friends with, and they're both really amazing and inspiring people. And so, okay, to talk about my STEM journey and how I got into STEM. So, I'm Indian, and so the stereotype for all Indian people is to there are like three career paths. One is to be a doctor, one is to be an engineer, and one is to be a lawyer. Generally, if a doctor or engineer is preferred, right? But what's really good about my parents is that they said to me from the beginning, and I think I can like think back to like age 4, to my mom saying to me, Medha, you can do whatever you want, be whatever you want. I really don't care. Just make sure you're happy. And that's kind of been my driving force and the message that I've carried with me all throughout my entire great to grand 18 years of life. But so one person who's always been a huge influence towards me and really is my mentor and my best friend is my older brother. And he's 4 years older than me, and he just graduated with a CS in government degree. And so whatever he does, honestly, I always try to do because he is the most inspiring person in my life. And sounds a little weird, but honestly, I love my brother a lot. So when I was about like 7, 8 years old, my brother showed me this really cool game that he had programmed using BASIC on his wonderful TI-84 Silver Edition calculator. And if you do any math beyond algebra, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And so it was like an alien death game, and I thought it was really cool. And I was like, wow, that's really cool. I want to learn how to do that. I didn't learn how to do it, but I did play a bunch of games on his calculator, thus causing him to not do his math homework. But it's fine. I digress. But it was like that day that kind of inspired me to try new things, because up until then I was just go to school, do my homework, get straight A's, go to school, do my homework, get straight A's, and then repeat, right? And obviously for like a third grader, that's kind of just like how your life is. And like play outside sometimes. But that's just like what my life was. And so that kind of inspired me to take new opportunities and like just like put myself out there. And so whether that meant volunteering in class so that my teachers noticed me and therefore recommended me for programs, or that meant seeing a flyer posted on like school property and signing up for the club, right? So I think one of the biggest things that I did to kind of explore new opportunities and kind of eventually get into STEM was the fact that I never stopped myself from taking opportunities, even if that meant disregarding all of my academics and trying new clubs and activities. And sure, like, don't recommend doing that. Always prioritize your homework, but, you know, me, I get excited about real-world applications to things, so that's just kind of where my head is at. But I think that's kind of the moment that I could attribute to sparking my love for STEM and CS just generally. And so since then, you know, in middle school, I joined like Team America Rocketry Challenge, all of those like classic STEM type CS engineering clubs, because that's kind of just like what I thought I should do in order to explore opportunities and extend my horizons. So I know like Dia read off a whole bunch of things that I've done, but honestly, like that's really irrelevant because at the end of the day, I think it's really important to just do things that matter to you. And I think Kirvani summed this up really well, where it's like, if you don't care about what you're doing, you shouldn't do it. I know so many people who are like, yeah, okay, so in order to get into a GMed program, like people text me this, they're like, in order to get into a GMed program, I need to shadow a doctor, I need to do some research with a professor through this internship and this program, and honestly, doing that is great, and I'm also a huge planner, but at the end of the day, it's just about seeing where life takes you, because my mantra is like, everything happens for a reason, and so just taking opportunities. So like, I don't think that you should ever pigeonhole yourself and think, yeah, I need to be in STEM in order to make money. I need to be in STEM to like do this, or I need to be in CS or tech because that's the cornerstone of all success in all businesses. Because that's not necessarily true, right? Like, if you really like doing something, you should do it. And you should never think that any career option is also mutually exclusive. So for the longest time, in fact, until like last year, I've always thought, yeah, I really like CS, but I could never see myself sitting behind a computer and just coding the entire time or doing a tech startup. Like, Alexis, you like confuse me because I could never see myself doing that. But you know what? I have so much respect for people who can do that. And also I look at people like Kirvani and it's like, I could never be around, like I could never see someone hurt and then try to fix them or like do research about like bio stuff and like learn from textbooks. That just goes all over my head, right? But it's kind of just about like learning a bunch of skills, taking opportunities. Like this is a great opportunity. Listening to people talk, talking to people themselves who are industry professionals and who already have like their life ahead of them and stuff like that. It's just like taking opportunities and kind of understanding what you're passionate about. Because for the longest time, again, like I never wanted to be like a back-end developer or like anything like that. So to me, it's always been like, I like CS, but I also like to dance, and I also like to sing, and I also like politics. I'm a huge debater. So the question is, how can I integrate everything that I like and still somehow be successful in life, right? And like make sure that I actually put food on the table. So I think my STEM journey has always been kind of random if you look at everything I've done, but it all falls under one umbrella, which is me trying to help people using the skills that I already have, right? So I know that I can't like stand like anything medical wise, like I don't understand any of that, but I do understand like problem solving, and I think that's why tech specifically appealed to me a lot more. So what I'm trying to get at is, if you realize like a general premise that you want to define your life, like the reason why I'm majoring in computer science and social entrepreneurship at NYU is because I want to use my tech skills, yes, but I want to use them to help people, to further public policy, and to consult for organizations that specifically are designed for the good and benefit of society. And so I guess my STEM journey has always been about like, how can I achieve that broad goal and do a whole bunch of activities that fall under that umbrella. And I think that's something that I highly recommend when it comes to exploring what you want to do, right? Because if you just like tell yourself that this is what you're going to do, you're going to close yourself off to a whole bunch of opportunities. So my STEM journey in general has just been, yeah, okay, this seems cool, let me do it, and let me run with it and see how far I can get. And I feel like what I've been saying has been a little bit convoluted. So if there are any clarification questions, feel free to send them my way. But at the end of the day, it's just kind of like life is about making yourself happy, right? And you can never like think to yourself, okay, I want to like be a billionaire and be on Forbes magazine's cover in like 20 years, right? Like that's when I'll be happy. Like that's just not how you should live your life. And so what I found from like going to a sci-tech high school where everyone's super competitive, and then like going to NYU where also everyone's competitive, everyone's like gunning for internships and like job opportunities and stuff like that, it's like getting caught up in the competitiveness, sure, like that's okay. You can live your life that way if you want to and always be thinking about the future. But if you live in the moment now and do things that make you happy now, that's what people are going to see about you. Because as soon as one thing that I've realized is that as soon as I start doing like personal projects, things that interest me, like just last week I built like a YouTube subscriber predictor using linear regression and machine learning, and like I web scraped all the data by myself. And I thought like before that I never thought I could do that, right? But then because I was like, I watch YouTube a lot, let me see if I can predict YouTube subscribers, right? And like I love like YouTubers, and I know Alexis has a YouTube channel, she like pops off on that. It's just like, this is interesting. How can I like learn how to do that? How can I solve that? And so I think it's just about like doing things that interest you now, not focusing on resume padding, getting into college and stuff like that. Because at the end of the day, colleges and employers, the one thing that they look at is drive and initiative. And if you don't have and if you don't care about what you're doing and you're not passionate about what you're doing, you're never going to have either of those qualities, and you're not going to get hired, right? You're just going to look like a grade grubber, as some of my teachers have said. And so, yeah, I think my STEM journey has literally just been, okay, let's just like see what makes me happy today, and tomorrow we'll figure it out, because I'm going to do things that are interesting to me and make me feel productive, and therefore make me feel like I'm successful today, not that are going to benefit me and make me successful tomorrow, because that's just not how life works. So yeah, my STEM journey has just like been like that, and I guess that's all I want to say. If anyone has any questions about any specific projects I've done or internships, feel free to ask, because I think that Bia covered all of that in my introduction, but I'm just speaking generally, giving life advice.
Thank you, Medha. I really like the quote you said about living in the moment now. That was very inspiring. And I'm really glad, because we've gotten really just like different perspectives from everyone, but it's common that y'all are saying to go for what you want to. And I can't wait to hear from the other two speakers we have. So next is Kruthik. Kruthik Ravishankar is a sophomore at Boston University, pursuing medicine and double majoring in computer science and biology. Before attending college, he was a student at Bridge High School, where he took pride in his academics and was a valued member of the community. Over his high school career, Kruthik took 11 AP courses focused in STEM and achieved National Honor Society efforts towards. Oh, it got disconnected apparently. They can't hear us. Okay, I will start over. Kruthik Ravishankar is now a sophomore at Boston University, pursuing medicine, double majoring in computer science and biology. Before attending college, he was a student at Bridge High School, where he took pride in his academics and was a valued member of the community. Over his high school career, Kruthik took 11 AP courses focused in STEM and achieved National Honor Society and Honor Roll. His extracurriculars included speech and debate, Boy Scouts, and South Asian Culture Club. His charisma and personality helped him become nationally ranked in debate, attain Eagle Scout, the highest ranking in scouting, and treasurer of NHS and FACC. Evolving from his passion in science, Kruthik pinpointed his efforts towards medicine by interning, participating in research, and volunteering at his local hospital. At Boston University, he continues his journey by working as a research assistant, training as an EMT, and tutoring underprivileged high schoolers. In his free time, he loves to dance on an Indian fusion team and play spike ball. Kruthik, do you want to go ahead and talk about your STEM journey?
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having me, guys. I guess I'll start about my STEM journey. So, I guess like my passion it wasn't really like that movie scene experience that everyone paints it as, where you're just walking down the street and, it just hits you, just comes to you that one day. It kind of grew over time for me. And I think it's probably how it works for the majority of people. But, with that being said, like, don't try to fit into a box of like, this is exactly what you should do in order to be successful. Like, create a box around you. And with that being said, I'll go into like things that I've done, but obviously it's going to be different for me and my experience. So like she pointed out already, and things I can go deeper into. So like outside of school, freshman year, I interned, and each thing I did wasn't because like, oh, I was forced to do it, or whether, other people are doing, so I'm going to do it. It's something that I wanted to do, something that I wanted to get involved in. So it was much easier for me to just go out there and do that. And I learned something from everything I did. And that's really, I'll come to it at the end, but that's really how you got to pitch yourself for the college admissions process. So with that being said, like freshman year, I did beta testing for a public health company, and that taught me whether I wanted to be back end or front end in medicine. And I obviously decided I want to be front end. Then I did research on Alzheimer's disease, and I honestly, like, some people, I don't understand how they do it, but for me, like, I absolutely hated the 9-to-5 monotonous routine. So like, that told me that I wanted to be active and I wanted to interact with patients. And then I'm a Boy Scout, and I obviously did that for like a good portion of my high school career, like probably 6 years, and that like taught me I wanted to be active and I liked the adventure, right? And then I obviously volunteered at the hospital, and I volunteered with dementia patients. And that like taught me that I wanted patient interaction. I wanted to actually like see the change that I'm having on people. And with that being like all these things, came together, and it pointed to me that I wanted to be a doctor. And that's probably why I decided to major in biology, not because you have to major in biology to become a doctor, but for me, that's what worked out the most convenient. So with that being said, I think the biggest thing that helped me get to where I am is like setting goals. Like, I know specifically for medicine, the biggest things that admissions look for is research, clinicals, and academics. So if you have the goal set in mind, like there's no doubt that like you're not going to succeed. Like, you will succeed if you know what to do and you want to achieve it. Like, I know it's easy just to put it off, or it's easy to be like, like, I have time. But like at the end of the day, in the grand scheme of things, like there's nothing stopping you from just starting at like where you are. Like, no matter how you start, whether it just be like shadowing or whether it just be volunteering at a hospital, getting to know people, getting your foot in the door, it's like you can do it whenever you're like, as soon as you feel ready. So as soon as you feel ready, just like don't hesitate. Like, people aren't going to judge you. Like, who cares what people think? At the end of the day, it's like what you're doing, and basically like you're just carrying out your agenda to get where you want to be. So like what I do at BU now is like I obviously work in a lab. So I basically do beta testing and testing. I run trials on sleep drugs, and I do data analytics for the lab about what the results are. And I tutor underprivileged high schoolers in geometry, and that's because I like seeing the impact I have, right? So all these things I do, it's because I've realized what I like doing. And I don't feel like it's like a hassle. I don't feel like it's extra work to me to do these things. It's basically like I enjoy doing it. I don't mind doing it. I want to do it. Right? And I think that's the biggest thing, especially if you're deciding to pursue STEM, because STEM, it can be really easy to burn out in. And it's really easy to give up like as soon as you hit a roadblock. And with STEM, like I don't remember someone pointed out, like problem solving is the biggest thing. Like, you have to be able to get around your obstacles. So with that being said, like don't wait to start now. And like you don't need to know every single thing. While like planning is great, like as long as you're not walking blind, you're fine. Like, you're chilling. Like, I used to be an applied math major at BU, and I switched out of that into CS because I realized like the applications of what I wanted to do in computer science isn't there in applied math. So as long as you have the general idea of where you're going, you are going to be fine. But with that, but with that being said, don't feel pressured into doing stuff just because other people are doing it. So like with that, all of this in mind, like I can go into like the college admission process or just like a couple of pointers for people who are thinking about that and planning ahead. The biggest thing in my opinion and what I've like dealt with recruiters at high school and, people I've talked to is pitching a narrative, right? Look, a common app or whichever coalition app you're going to use, like they're going to get all your metrics. They're going to get your SAT scores. They're going to get your GPA, and they're going to get your resume. What they don't, they're not going to get you. They're not going to get your personality. So don't write about something that everyone does, and don't write about something that doesn't make sense, like has no impact on you. You have to start thinking honestly now, like write about your experiences, even just in a journal, like not just jot them down, like, oh, like I had fun, volunteering today, or like this person like had an impact on my life today. And like that small thing, like looking back 4 years from now, like, it's probably what like pushed you in a direction. Like for me, volunteering especially like helped me like really like embrace my passion for pursuing medicine. Like that's why I'm training to be an EMT right now. I'll be certified next month because I like the adventure of, like I said before, I like the adventure and the not knowing what's going to happen that daily 9 to 5. So with that being said, if anyone has any questions, I know I like jump back and forth between things I've done, but if anyone wants me to go into more specifics, like I'll be more than happy to do that. But good luck on everyone's journey, and thank you guys for having me.
Thank you for coming and speaking, Kruthik. You nailed it really well, and I like that you said you don't need to know everything or feel pressured. You just go with what you like. So our last speaker is Suhas. Suhas Jeevanand is from Shrewsbury, Massachusetts, and is a graduate of Shrewsbury High School from the class of 2019. He was a member of his school's robotics team, FRC Team 467, varsity track and cross-country teams, and took part in other STEM and extracurricular activities. Currently, he's a rising sophomore at the U.S. Air Force Academy in Colorado Springs, where he is a member of the triathlon team and will be spending this upcoming semester learning how to fly sailplanes. He's set to graduate as a second lieutenant in 2023 with a Bachelor of Science degree in Aeronautical Engineering and a minor in the French language, and will hopefully have the opportunity to go to pilot training post-graduation. Let's welcome Suhas.
Thank you so much, and it was great hearing from all the other speakers today, and I truly thank all of you for being here today. It's a great opportunity to be able to share our experiences and help you decide in your future endeavors. So, yeah, I'm Suhas Jeevanand. I'm from Shrewsbury, Massachusetts, and I'm a rising sophomore at the U.S. Air Force Academy. So, we'll start off by just saying, like, how I kind of got into this position. It's not the most conventional decision I made, but it's truly a blast for so far. So I got into STEM at a very early age, specifically engineering. My dad is a mechanical engineer, or that's what he studied in college at least. And when I was really young, we'd always do like certain projects together at home, fixing things here and there, and that's kind of what sparked my interest about it. And with the military side of things, my grandfather was a colonel in the Indian Army, and that's kind of what gave me the whole idea of maybe I should join the military. I wasn't too sure until a couple of years ago, but that's what happened. And I've always had an interest in aviation. Don't really know why, it just happened to be that way. So airplanes were always something that was of great interest to me. So my childhood wasn't too eventful until middle school. I took part in programs First Lego League, which is something a lot of you probably know about or have done. I also took part in science fairs here and there. My 8th grade project for science fair actually was about wind turbines and how different composites and different blade structure affects the aerodynamics and the efficiency of certain wind turbines, and that kind of ties into my whole aeronautical engineering interest. So during high school, coming from FLL, obviously, I joined an FRC team. Our high school team was 467. You can look into it if you want later. We did some pretty cool stuff. And I don't have too much programming experience. I tried a little bit with Java, but to be fair, really wasn't something that interested me too much. So I stayed more towards like the whole mechanical side of things. I like working hands-on in teams, and the whole mechanical engineering stuff is really what interested me most. I also took part in things like National Honor Society, which gave me a lot of volunteering experience. I really enjoy helping people. And it also helped with like my leadership and teamwork development, which is definitely something of great importance to me. During my summers in high school, I took part in a couple cool programs. So after my freshman year, I took part in something called Space Camp, which is at NASA Space and Rocket Center in Huntsville, Alabama. If you haven't been there, you should definitely check it out. It's really cool. So I learned a lot there, and I also took part in the summer seminar program at the Naval Academy, actually, which is one of our sister schools. And that's kind of the point where I decided, like, I wasn't too sure about the whole military thing before that, but the Naval Academy gave me a good taste of what going to a service academy would be like. And after that experience, I was definitely like, yeah, this is what I want to do. And during my senior year, actually, me and a couple of my friends started our high school's chemistry club. And I wasn't really like too into chemistry. I took AP Chem in high school. It was all right, but I didn't really enjoy it that much. So this was kind of new to me. But what we did is we were trying to figure out how to grow produce, really, with certain types of chemicals. And our goal was to basically grow enough to donate to our local food banks, which, I mean, we weren't able to produce that much, as you can imagine, but we did get some good knowledge and stuff from that. And we kind of had like everything. We had people who were doing like the chemistry stuff, public affairs types of things, and of course engineering. So that's what I was most interested in. And throughout like my entire K to 12 schooling, I was really into sports. So I did soccer up until freshman year, but that's when I decided to go towards the track and cross country route, because that's where I felt, well, I enjoyed the whole running as an individual, but still being a part of the team. I really enjoyed doing that. And it was also one of my strong suits. So that's why I went to it. And it taught me a lot of important traits like time management, commitment, and even gave me some leadership opportunity during my senior year, which definitely helped me in the future. So that's pretty much it with my K to 12 stuff. And I can talk a little bit about my previous 2 semesters here at the Air Force Academy. So as a freshman at the Air Force Academy, you actually start really early. You'll report the basic on the last Wednesday of June. So our 24s are actually there right now heading through basic. And basic training was a lot of fun. Not really something I'd want to do again, but it's mainly to help you with teamwork and leadership development, which it did a good job as. And of course, it's a 6-week-long program. It was pretty tough physically and mentally, especially being cut off from the outside world because we didn't have any access to technology for those 6 weeks. But it was a really cool experience overall. And at the academy, so all the service academies, ours, Navy, like I mentioned before, and our other sister academy, West Point, were mainly military training facilities foremost and kind of colleges second. So a lot of what we do revolves around military and leadership development. So we'll have classes on that. We'll do exercises. And the whole academy structure basically goes from your freshman year where you're basically a follower, and your upperclassmen will be your primary leaders. So academies are pretty cadet run, and it's a good experience, especially to prepare us for our careers after we graduate. So at academies, you'll get a lot of cool summer opportunities and even opportunities during the school year. We got a ton of different majors, so you can major in anything from like any of the engineerings to economics, political science, and you can even go towards like the pre-med track like some of you have. So yeah, You can also join a ton of different clubs for whatever your interest may be, and that'll give you certain opportunities to leave campus and go travel somewhere. Like, for example, this past October, I was with the triathlon team and we did a race in Las Vegas. So that was a pretty fun 3-day vacation over there. It was really cool. And summer programs, right now I signed up for a class for this summer, so I'm about to finish that. But a lot of my friends are already back on campus, and they've done programs such as flying sailplanes, which I'm set to do this upcoming semester. And some of my other friends have taken part in basic free fall parachute. And I was seeing like their videos the other day that they've been posting, and it's pretty cool. So you can do a lot of really nice stuff. And even after you graduate, like, a lot of people think of the military stuff as like a lot of being in the field and being deployed, you may have heard, but it's not all like that. Like, I'm sure a lot of you heard about Space Force in the news sometime recently. So that's one of the newest things we have, and we're actually, we graduated like 50-something new lieutenants a couple months ago into the Space Force. This is really cool. So if you're interested in that type of stuff, you should definitely check it out. And overall, like, the college advice that my peers here gave is pretty spot on. So definitely do what you're interested in, because that's what you'll enjoy the most. And you'll also be best at doing that because you enjoy it. And I mean, yeah, keep your grades and GPA and your SAT scores up. Don't try to like cut corners or do what's easy just to inflate that number, because in the end, it's just a number. If you do what you're passionate about, you're going to do good and the results will follow. And definitely try to step up into leadership opportunities, and definitely try to get outside of your comfort zone, because that's what will most develop you as a person. And that's pretty much all I got for today. So thank you so much for listening, and I look forward to hearing your questions.
Yeah, wow, that's really impressive and out of the league. So thank you for sharing your experience. So we have a lot of questions from everyone. So I'll just start with Alexis, and I'll go in order. So Alexis, what projects would you like to work on in the future, and in what companies?
So I've only had experience in like the startup culture, so not really those big companies yet. So I do hope to go to those. But I do want to do a little bit more web development if I could. I love web development. I love also the design aspect. Like, it's super technical, but you also have to be a little bit artsy and like a little bit more creative to see how stuff might look on a web page or on a dashboard or something. So like doing more of that, and probably just trying to break into, of course, the big companies like Google and whatnot. Because I do like the startup culture and the small group feel, but I do want to experience kind of like the corporate side of it all.
That's cool. What did you write in your college admissions essay to help you stand out when compared to other applicants?
Yeah, so my main Common App essay was actually kind of unconventional in that I actually started not really trashing or ranting, but like pointing out the problems in TJ, especially with the lack of like diversity in that. Like, I did it way before any movement started or anything. I started working on it in my junior year, actually. So I really talked about how, as in STEM, it is like, of course, it's a lot of guys in STEM, so there's barely any girls really. So I really talked about how I wanted to, push that aspect of it and push people who are people of color and women of color to be more involved in STEM. So I really focused on how I could help, especially like through my volunteering and whatnot. I can help them kind of break into that space. So I really focused it on like how I can use my own skills, not only to better myself, but lift other people up. So all my essays kind of revolved around that idea. Of course, putting in some stuff I did, of course, but like, yeah. So that means helping others idea, yeah.
That's inspiring. How does a double major workload compare to just a single major?
Yeah, so I've been talking to advisors and whatnot, and of course my peers can talk about this more as well. But I was lucky that I did take some AP classes, so a lot of the credits transferred to UVA, which is a public state school. So they did accept a lot of credits. So I'm coming in with like 40 credits right now, which is basically making me a sophomore. So that got me out of a lot of the general ed requirements for college. So I can fit it with CS classes and business classes. So yeah, those AP credits are important.
What are some examples of activities that you joined that didn't have to do with STEM that still taught you good lessons that you can carry on today?
Oh, great question. So on the volunteering side, I did work with UNICEF. So I think they have a branch everywhere. And a big time consumer was gymnastics. So I've been doing gymnastics since I was 4. So being in gymnastics as a team member and, of course, becoming captain in my sophomore year, that really taught me those leadership skills that I know Suhas talked about. That was super important. And that really developed me in a different way to, gymnastics is a very physical but very also mental sport. So that really taught me to get back up if you fall and, never give up. So gymnastics is a huge part of my high school and previous years' career. And outside of that, I also, course, volunteering. I did a little bit of tutoring, especially at my church and whatnot. So those also factor in. All of these activities, no matter if they're STEM or not, really just help you present yourself as a whole person and not just like a robot who does work or programs all day.
Thank you, Alexis. If you guys have more questions, keep sending them in the Google Meet chat. But next was Medha. What do you think makes fields in STEM interesting?
So I think that STEM is interesting simply because of the widespread applications that it has. I don't think that you could really name any career that doesn't encompass some aspect of STEM. And I can speak to that personally because throughout high school, I've also worked on political campaigns. And so in that, even though it's literally just been communicating with people, talking to people about policy issues, a lot of the policy issues that we discuss are STEM-based, like healthcare and any sort of tech policy. And as recently, I don't know if anyone followed the Mark Zuckerberg congressional hearings, but those were also extremely tech-based. And so really what interests me about STEM is the fact that it can literally be applied anywhere. And if you have a basic understanding of STEM topics, then you have a basic understanding of how the world works, which is really interesting.
Thank you. So others had a question about high school education to college education transition. Like, is the high school courses referring to the aspiring career really help, or does it just expose you to new things?
Sorry, could you repeat the question?
Yeah. Does high school courses referring to the aspiring career really help, or does it just expose you to new things?
So I think that high school courses are what you make it to be, right? So if I take a CS class, then sure, I'm going to learn how to write codes in Python, right? But it's about it's kind of about taking advantage of opportunities, because yes, your teacher can teach you how to print out a statement or how to run a message, but also if you talk to your teacher after class, they can connect you with their own peers, they can connect you with their friends, they can connect you with their network. So I think kind of high school classes, or they can help you with independent projects that you want to pursue. So really, I feel like high school classes, they're really good at teaching you what you want to learn. So if you just want to learn the topic and nothing else, yeah, it's great at that. But if you want to learn about how you can apply what you're learning, you can take advantage of resources that you have at your disposal. And I think that college education is a lot more independent in that sense. So as soon as you tune yourself in high school to take advantage of the opportunities and resources that you could potentially have in high school, the sooner you start doing that, the sooner you'll be more successful in college. Because I think the biggest transition issue that people have is that they don't realize that it's not just about reading the textbook and memorizing it and then just getting an A, right? It's about how can I extend my learning further and how can I take advantage of what I've learned?
Thank you. And in the field of science, some people spend years on one experiment trying to find one answer, but sometimes these experiments don't work. So with all this uncertainty, how do you make sure you're not afraid to pursue your passion?
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be uncertainty with everything. If everything in life were guaranteed, then there would be no purpose to life. There would be no wealth inequality. There would be so many things, so many problems that we wouldn't have, right? If things were guaranteed, then, I mean, what's the point of living if you don't take risks, right? I mean, I personally am a very risk-averse person just in general, but the good thing about that is that it challenges me to kind of like take advantage of opportunities that I wouldn't necessarily have thought to take advantage of. And I think the biggest part of that is networking and like talking to people who have already done what you want to do. And recently I've been talking to so many industry professionals in so many different sectors. Like sometimes I'll just think to myself, okay, maybe I should go into investment banking. And so then I'll just like find someone on LinkedIn who did investment banking who has some sort of connection to me, whether that be they went to the same high school as me, they're friends with one of my other friends, or they go to the same college as me. And I just like hop on a Zoom meeting with them and talk to them for 30 minutes. And that is really helpful in like calming your nerves because they know exactly where you're coming from. So I guess it's talking to people who have done the same thing as you, and also realizing nothing in life is guaranteed. So if you really care about something, then you're going to accomplish it because there's just no way that you can care about something and not want to achieve it.
That's really like useful advice. And could you talk more about your experience with the Congressional App Challenge?
Yeah. So when I was this is actually a really funny story. So I'm a huge Marvel fan, and so Marvel did this thing where they were like, oh, develop some like cool technology thing and then submit it to our competition and like do a demo video, and then you could go to like the movie premiere, and I think it was like Ragnarok. And so I was so excited about that. I don't know if that's still happening, but you should definitely check it out if it's still happening. So I really wanted to do that. So I like spent my time creating an app called Safe Travel, which basically just like helps. It's like if you've heard of Moonlight, it's basically the same thing, just a little bit more comprehensive in terms of like data collection. And so it basically just like ensures that you go from point A to point B safely. And so I wanted to submit my app to the Marvel Challenge, and it was really sad. I kind of like submitted a corrupted file, and so as soon as I submitted that and I realized that, I tried emailing them and everything, but it just like did not work out, and I was devastated. And then my parents were like, Medha, you spent so much time and effort on this, you really care about this, well, just find a different app competition to submit it to. So I did, and the first one that I Googled was the Congressional App Challenge. So I was like, wow, this is fate. I love policy and I love tech. Let me just submit it here. And I ended up winning somehow for my district. And so since then, like that goes back to like networking. So I won for Virginia District 10. So that's, that at the time was Representative Barbara Comstock. Now it's Representative Weston. And so I stayed in contact with Representative Comstock to the point where just this year, I invited her to speak at our National Honor Society induction. And so again, it goes back to like networking and like taking advantage of like opportunities, and like just remember that like if anyone has offered you an award or if anyone is talking to you on a panel, like all of us here, we're all here because we want to help other people succeed. And so that means you shouldn't be like afraid of reaching out to them. And so I guess like in the Congressional App Challenge, I like kind of won somehow, I don't know. And because I kept in contact with the representative I won for and stuff like that, I was then invited to apply for the CAC Alumni Advisory Board, and now we're working on expanding Congressional App Challenge and like taking a grassroots approach to kind of like encourage more people to apply and get more people involved in tech and stuff like that. So it's kind of just been like a whirlwind of like flukes, but it like all makes sense logically of like why things happened the way they did.
Thank you, Medha. Kruthik, we had a question about double versus single major.
Yeah, sure. So for me, like I think Alexis pointed out, EP credits like really helped. Like I think I had 50 credits going in, so that pretty much got me out of all my gen eds except the trashy liberal arts ones and things like that. Like it just really opened up my schedule in order to get ahead in the course sequences for computer science and biology for that matter. So now, like, since I have gotten most of the basic courses out of the way, like, I'm actually probably taking junior level courses next year, and I'll have much more freedom my senior year to take what I really wanted to take and really specialize in something that's useful to the industry.
Thank you. And what courses did you take in high school to form the bio-computer science interest?
Yeah, sure. So I definitely took the basic science courses. So I took AP Bio, AP Environment, AP Physics, those basic AP courses that really get you thinking into science. And for computer science, like I said, I used to be an applied math major. So in high school, I took AB and BC and things like that. So like that got me really thinking into how can I, take mathematics and apply it into the real world. And that's how I chose an applied math major. But after I got to college, what I realized was I really wanted to specialize and really take that math. If I really wanted to work in the industry, I'd probably either niche specialize or get a master's in it. And that's something I just wasn't willing to do as I was focused in medicine. So I switched over to CS, and it allowed me to specialize my senior year, and that's really how I'm able to combine both of my interests. That's what I do at my research labs. I basically do data analytics in a science field.
And could you discuss your beta testing internship?
Yeah, sure. So, this was really a while ago, so kind of the details are kind of foggy, but basically what I did was they were creating a new iOS app based on their website, and the website didn't support a mobile Safari version either. So what I had to do was I basically had to present and look for bugs and present to the team, like what I was finding, what was working, what wasn't working, how can I make the graphic interface better, how can I make the user experience better, in order to really so they could really pitch their product to their users in a much more efficient and a much more likable manner.
You mentioned about defining a goal. So when did you do it, and how did you approach defining a goal? Yeah,
so it definitely happens at different times for everyone. Like, some people still go into college undecided, that's completely fine. But for me, deciding a goal, really, like I said when I was talking before, it didn't really happen at one specific point. It really amassed over multiple different things I did. And at the end of the day, when I was applying for college and I was like, oh, what major should I apply for? I looked at the things I've done and why I did them. And that's really how I was able to put together what I wanted to go into. And like I said, whether that be from speech and debate, or whether that be research, or whether that be volunteering, no matter what it is, you're going to find a way to do what you want, how you want to do it.
Someone had a question about college admission. Does extracurricular programs and optional community service increase your admission rate?
I obviously don't work. It's a great question. I obviously don't work in the admissions department, so I can't tell you about what's weighed more, what's weighed less, or whether this extracurricular will get you into college and this won't. But what I can tell you is that it's a holistic process, and that really sounds like a bunch of hoot and a bunch of just air. But at the end of the day, it's a narrative that you pitch. If you did one extracurricular and you excelled in it, you put your heart and time and soul into it, that's going to be super important versus 10 small things that someone else may have did. So it's really a combination of what you do and how far you excel in what you're doing.
Thank you. Could you tell us about your experience on EMT? Was it stressful, and how did you keep your calm?
Yeah, sure. So I'm not actually working yet. I'm actually getting certified within the next week, so I will start working in the fall semester. But so I can't really attest to what it's like on a rig or on an ambulance. But from my friends, what they told me and what I've been hearing is that you're not alone, really. You're always with someone else. You always have a partner that's usually more experienced than you when you're first week or first month out. So no matter what you're doing, I guess this applies to a lot of other fields. There's always people for you, whether it just be your friends you're asking for advice, or your teachers, or you're looking for connections, forget someone who mentioned, no matter what it is, like, don't feel bad to reach out to help yourself succeed, right? Like, sometimes you can use these things to your benefit, and just be prepared for when they ask you something, be prepared to give it back. Because honestly, like, it's not going to impact your life in like a huge dramatic way that you're going to regret it.
How did you choose your college, and what are some pointers for picking which college you'd like to go to?
Yeah, so I think I said before, I'm a sophomore at BU, and I think the two main factors that helped me decide where I wanted to go is the things available at that college and how well do you think you're going to do there. So for me, the biggest state school in New Jersey is Rutgers, and it's a lot of competition. Like, it's a really cutthroat environment. It's not the fact that it's just there's a lot of people, but there's also a lot of people doing the same thing, right? So for me, it's something that I didn't want to deal with. Like, I know a lot of people are like, be around people that excel or do what you like so you could learn from them, right? But for me specifically, I learned better from people who were different from me, right? So that I definitely could find at BU. And the second thing was opportunities. So like I was going into medicine. So being in Boston, there's 7 trauma centers. There's a lot of hospital opportunities. BU has a really great network for research opportunities. So all these, like, those two things combined, like, I saw myself doing really well at that school. So no matter where you go, it could be Rutgers, right? Just for me, it wasn't. But I know a lot of friends that are like succeeding a lot at Rutgers, and it's just where you see yourself succeeding is probably most likely where you're going to succeed.
Thank you, Kruthik. That was very inspiring. Suhas, like I said before, your career path is out of the league, so we have some interesting questions. How did you make the decision to join the military or the Air Force?
All right, yeah. So, like I said before, my granddad, he was a colonel in the Indian Army, and I have a couple other family who have served in the military in India, so that's kind of like one thing that kind of sparked that initial interest in it. And alongside my interest in aviation, which came at a very young age, I knew that, flying was something that I really wanted to do. So before I made the decision to go to the Air Force Academy, I applied to all 3 service academies, the military ones at least. I got into Air Force and West Point, and just like the opportunities available at Air Force with regard to my major, aeronautical engineering, and also the ability to go to pilot training in so many different bases across the country, that's kind of what gave me that final pick.
How is the admissions process to the academies different from the normal?
Yeah, so the application process to academies is actually really different from normal schools. You don't go through like any of the Common App or the Coalition App or anything like that. It's its own separate kind of application, and each school has their own specific application portal as well. But the initial thing is you got to go through like a lot of different processes. So the first thing you need is a nomination, which is basically like a letter of recommendation from your local congressperson or senator. So you'll have a separate application to get that nomination from them. And then once you have it, you'll have to go through several different application steps. You'll have to take a medical screener, a fitness test. They'll give you some pre-tests here and there, and of course, you'll have to submit a couple of essays and hand in like your grades and scores and everything like a normal school. So you also have to do a couple interviews for the nominations and for the normal boards to get into one of the academies. But it's honestly like not too bad. It's definitely longer, but if you go step by step, you can just do it alongside your other schools. Like I applied to 10 different schools, and it definitely wasn't overwhelming for me.
Someone had a question about mindset. Like, when is it the best time to start thinking about future careers and future colleges?
So I wouldn't say that there's like a set time that you have to like make decisions in life. like, I didn't make the decision to go to USAFA until, like, the very end. I went to, like, March 1st, which was the decision May 1st, which was the decision deadline. So I'd say, like, for anything you do, definitely, like, think your way through it, take your time, and do what you'll think will make you most happy in the future.
How does working in the military differ from normal engineering jobs?
So, I haven't, like, right now we're basically like normal college students. We're taking classes. I haven't actually gone through any aeronautical engineering classes specifically. I'm mainly getting core classes out of the way right now. But I do talk to my friends back home from high school, go to like colleges all over the country, and our lives are actually like pretty similar. Just school definitely will take up the majority of your time, but you'll have a lot of extra stuff like military training and sports are both mandatory at the academies. But you do have like different options of what you want to do. Like for the military side of things, there are plenty of like different job opportunities within the academy that upperclassmen can take, and you can basically send in an application for any of those jobs. And once you get the job, you'll each have different responsibilities within the overall unit. And for sports, we got so many different teams, from NCAA teams to club teams to even intramural sports if either of those things aren't what you want. So there's definitely like plenty of opportunities you can do. And once you graduate as well, like when people think of Air Force, they think of everyone like as pilots basically. But our class size is around 1,000 and only 450 of us will go pilots after our senior year. And there's so many different jobs you can choose. Like you can go finance, acquisition, maintenance, and even like how I mentioned before, you could go Space Force. So it's really like whatever interests you, there's probably something in the military for you to do.
You said the initial 6 weeks of basics, I think you said, was interesting. So could you tell us more about it? Yeah.
So basic training starts in the last week of June, and it's basically like a 6-week screener, you could say. It's not really like testing anything specifically, but it's just something you have to go through to basically bond with your peers. So most of it's like a lot of physical and mental fortitude. That's what you need to get through it. So you'll be working through like many different sorts of obstacles, problem solving stuff, everything with your little group of like 30 basic cadets. So it's a really cool opportunity to like work as a team, and you're going to be in that team for the entire 6 weeks. So at the end of that, you're going to know each other really well, and they're going to be your best friends during the school year and so forth.
How does your day normally look like in college?
Yeah. So it kind of like depends on the certain day. Like we have different responsibilities on different days. So a lot of the time, I'll usually wake up at like 6:30, get breakfast. Classes will run from 7:30 to 3:30 every day, and I'll usually have like 2 hours of free period during the day to get homework and stuff done. And then we'll have sports or military training in the afternoon after classes, get dinner, and then work on homework, and then repeat. And then other days, for triathlon specifically, we'll have swim mornings. On those mornings, I get up at around 4:45 in the morning. We get practice in the morning, go to breakfast, and then just continue the same schedule as before. And then another part about like military academies is sometimes you won't get your Saturdays off, so you'll have different things to go to, like the football games for one are mandatory to go to, which, I mean, they're fun, so nothing wrong with that. And then you'll have different like events during the school year. Like one of our events at the end of freshman year is called Recognition, which is basically like the culminating event to basically like prove what you learned during your entire freshman year, which is really cool. And of course, like I mentioned before, you have different opportunities. Like this upcoming semester, I'm going to go flying a lot, so that'll be really fun. And then you'll get to travel, and if you're in like a sports team, you'll spend the majority of your time with them. So it's really cool, and you can meet a lot of different people.
What programs did you attend in high school, and how did they help you get into the Air Force?
Yeah, so during high school, I mainly chose programs that I'd be interested in and that I had a passion for. So obviously, like all the engineering stuff I've done, that's just because that's what I enjoy doing. And I definitely, like at the academy, those really have helped me, especially like leadership opportunities I've taken, because that's a big thing that military academies stress. And of course, sports too, because that got me in like proper physical shape for basic training and beyond. And it again teaches you things like time management, commitment, and leadership, of course, are all pretty important.
Thank you, Suhas. That was really inspiring.
A pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah. So we've had a lot of questions today, and I know we've gone over time, so we'll send those questions your way sometime later today to all I guess 5 of you, if Kirvani is here too. Thank you all. I wanted to say thank you to each of you on behalf of every one of us, like the officers and the hackers. It's been an overwhelming session to hear from all of you and very inspiring. Thank you for your time and support. And is there anything else you guys would like to add?
I guess I just want to say that, like, again, I can't speak for everyone else, but I can speak for myself, in which, like, generally when people speak at panels, it's because they want to help other people. So feel free to, like, find me on LinkedIn and, like, send me a request and then message me if you have any college advice, and if you're on Facebook, then you can friend me on Facebook or something and just send me a message request there. Because, like, I do like helping people, like with whether it be college advice, life advice, high school advice, whatever it is, career advice. Sure, I'd be happy to talk things through. So don't be afraid to reach out, and like not just like me at this event, like at future events too. Like if you hear someone give a really good speech, like it doesn't matter how intimidated you are by them, because genuinely if they're at a place where they're speaking to you, they want to help you. So feel free to reach out to me or to any other people that you ever see on a panel or something like that.
Thank you. We have one final question for all of you from Mr. Ravish Desai. To all the speakers, first and foremost, I'm going to read it as if I'm him, I guess. First and foremost, I'm blown away from your stories and maturity. This is an open question to all. Are you able to talk about any examples of how you overcame failures or stress, and if so, what life lessons did it teach you to keep focused? Any advice to the next batch of middle and high schoolers? Do we just want to go? Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. All right. So for like the failure part of it, I definitely have undergone a lot of failures in life, but I wouldn't really consider them failures because I learned and grew from those. I like to call them setbacks. So that's one thing. So whenever like something wrong happens, just learn from it, figure out like what went wrong, and then see how you can correct that in the future to prevent it from happening again. And that's how you learn and grow as a person. And it's normal, so definitely don't let it go to your head. Just keep going.
Yeah, I completely agree with that and want to echo that. At the end of the day, like, I have failed so many times. I've failed tests, I've failed quizzes, I've failed at trying to build a project that I was passionate about, I failed at friendship, I've literally failed at everything, right? But like, I mean, everything is a learning experience and everything happens for a reason. If you don't go through life, again, like going back to what I said before, if you go through life not taking risks and just being completely risk averse, then you're never going to grow as a person and you're never going to learn anything, and you're just going to continue being a monotonous element of society, which is, if you've seen the Lego movie, sucks, right? So just like take risks, and honestly, like you are going to fail, but that's the only way that you're going to succeed. So it's just part of the learning process.
Yeah, just piggybacking on everyone, like the amount of failure, especially being at TJ and being at that high school, like I'm going to be completely honest with you all, I have never gotten an A in math, failed physics, the whole 9 yards. And like they said, like it's a learning opportunity. And when you guys were talking about that, it kind of reminded me of a quote that like once you hit rock bottom, the only way to go is up. So really use those learning experiences. And for me, yeah, I'm not great at math. still suck at it, but I worked at it. I studied. I reached out to teachers and friends who I knew were super smart and could explain it to me. And just like, of course, people are there to help you. And like Medha said, of course, you can contact me too if you need help. But everyone is there to help you. And when you're feeling down, when you feel like you failed or whatnot, or face a setback, there's always someone there to help you, and you can even use it yourself as an opportunity to help others.
Yeah, and like Alexis just reminded me of something that it's not a failure is relative, right? Like at least you tried, and that's something that other people can't say. So I think like the definition of failure is literally defined by comparing yourself to others and what other people have done. And so as soon as you get out of like that very negative and toxic mindset and start comparing yourself to who you were yesterday, that's when you like stop seeing things as failures. As Suhas said, like it's only a setback, it's not a failure.
Thank you all for the response, and I really do agree with everything you guys said today. We had another question in the chat, just the last one, I promise. Why is it so important to do an internship during school to go to college?
I don't think it's necessarily important. Like you shouldn't do something just because you have to do it, right? I think it's kind of just about like doing things for the sake of learning about them. Like I just like don't see any reason why you should stop yourself from taking advantage of resources in your community, right? And it doesn't need to be like an internship at a big company, or like it doesn't have to be like shadowing a doctor or volunteering at NIH or whatever, right? It doesn't have to be that way, right? It could literally just be going to H&M and applying for a job there, right? Because everything that you do is like a culmination of experiences, and that will help you grow as a person. It's just about like learning new things, and like don't forget that like hard skills like research and stuff is just as important as soft skills such as communication and problem solving. And usually it's soft skills that differentiate you from every other college application applicant or every other job applicant, right, in the future. So if you have on your resume that you like not only worked like at white-collar jobs, but also blue-collar jobs, you stand out a lot more than someone who has only done, like, tech internships at Microsoft and Google, right? And so it's just, like, about, like, learning more. So it's not something you have to do, but it's something that you can do to, like, kind of understand other people and the world around you.
Yeah, adding on to that, it's like, yeah, you don't have to do internship, but for me personally, I chose to work at like the job or internship because I wanted to figure out what I really didn't want to do. Because I had this like idealistic image of being like a software engineer or like an engineer of any type. But then I'm like, oh, I don't really have real experience. I only have my classroom, knowledge and textbooks and like being able to code there. But what is it like outside in the real world? Like even in this current position that I am, I still don't really know if I want to do software engineering 5 years down the line, but I'm learning like what I like to do, what I don't like to do. And I think that's equally as important to figure out what you like in terms of academics. It's like, do you like sitting there? Like Medha was saying, like she can't sit there and program. I can't become a doctor. Like that's not a thing for me. So figuring out what you don't like, I think, is equally as important as figuring out what you do like. And I think internships and any community service, any extracurricular can help you do that.
Thank you guys all so much. Take care, and yeah, that's all for today.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.